Yeah, that's a picture of me. Uh, to have a little words, so I'm indie freelance composer and sound designer. Uh, I to do a little biography. I started making music when I was kind of young, in high school. I used to do games with the RPG Maker software, and so I started to make music for that. And then, sorry, um, and then I went to do a bit of game jams and met a few people and few thing after another. I started to do this thing as a full-time job. So yeah, since like 10 years or something, I don't remember. So let's talk about Dead Cells and things about the game. First, I'd like to give you a brief history of the game. As a start, it was a game made by Motion Twin, which is a French company based in Bordeaux in France. They started making games in 2001, and they were more doing like browser and community game you play on the internet with a lot of microtransaction and a lot of community-based games. So after that, so the development of Dead Cells started around 2013 and 14 as a tower defense game, and it was intended as a prequel of Horde, which was a game Motion Twin did, which was like a Walking Dead simulator thing in which you had a day part where you were walking around your camp and then and going out gathering resources, and the night defending your base. So that was like the first intention in Dead Cells was to do like kind of the same thing but in a medieval theme. So to have a preparation base and then the action part, if we can say. We'll see that soon. So after that, the game changed direction around 2016 to go through a rogue and Souls-like game, if we can say. The thing that's at the moment, the game that the company was used to make, the browser and microtransaction, was not going super well because they did not anticipated the mobile game thing. So they decided to do something like, fuck everything, let's do the game we want to do and we will enjoy. So it was kind of like, the story in Final Fantasy, that it was supposed to be the last game of Squaresoft in the 80s, and like they had, the last chance. It's a bit of the same thing. So. And so then during the earlier access in 2017, the game changed again to be more close to what the game is now. So more action-oriented, and putting aside the, if you can say, the big focus on exploration and more like, action and randomness things. And so since 2019, the game is not done by Motion Twin directly, but by a company named Evil Empire, which was created by former Motion Twin employees. So it's, because Motion Twin is doing another game and it's a very, very small company. I think now they are like 8 people or something. So yeah, they were not able to keep on adding content to the game and making another game. So yeah. So now let's talk a bit more about the music and how it evolved, because despite there was like still things from the direction that were present from the first development cycle of the game. It really had, different kind of gameplay. So here's a screenshot of what the game looked like at that time. So just to remember, like, that was kind of the preparation part before the tower defensing things. And I managed to find like an old cringy music from this era. So it was like a moment I did not had money and things, so the quality is not really good. I apologize for that. But it was, so for the spots, like the slow-paced preparation thing, trying to have, well, like a smooth, calm guitar thing, I guess. So yeah, and that was something that was, how to say, what the devs wanted to really have a focus on the guitar. That's why songs from this era were basically only made with guitars. And so here's another one that was made for the action parts, which was actually reused in the final game as the music of the temple level. So yeah, everything is like the drums and stuff was kind of the fun part of the plan, to do everything with a guitar. Yeah. Also not too much a focused song on the action, because when you were playing that part of the game, you were more like a spectator, so you had everything planned in, so it was automatic battle things happening. So, oh. I'm sorry, it cuts. So the guitar is the main instrument, as I mentioned. So after that, the change of direction around 2006, with another screenshot from this era. The character was not already designed, because you were supposed to choose between different classes. And so as, there was a lot of play tasting, and the feedbacks was like, people did not like the non-fun part where you were supposed to prepare the things. So the game took the more like action die and retry, but also it has a kind of a paced gameplay like Dark Souls, so exploration and not a lot of how to say, action all the time. So the devs were afraid to have very repetitive music. So this was what was, there was no music except for bosses, so only ambient things. Yeah, as I mentioned, and also a bit of jingle things too. So it's not a very fun thing to listen. So then this is what the game looked like just before and during the early access. So when the character went more defined and the game was more action focused. So here's like the first level music but how it was made like a long time ago. So there you go. But yeah, they were still afraid, as it was a roguelite, you know, as you replaying the game a lot and a lot and a lot and again, to about, you know, music, to have music during the gameplay. So we managed to find a compromise, which was a balance between you know, rhythm action and a lot of ambience focused thing. Yeah, because at Motion Twin it works like in politics. It's the guy with the bigger mouth that how to say, that is right, you can say so. So we had to do some Game of Thrones things to tell one guy, yeah, it's better with music, and another guy, yeah, it's better with music. So when they have a meeting, like, yeah, it's better with music. So that was the way we managed to have music in the game, at least. So just playing like a few early tracks from the game. So this one is from the Ossuary, which is like a big level, and so one of the first tracks made when the game had music again. So it was meant to be very ambient, so just a, you know, a few Silent Hill 1 string thing with the mandolin, and so to, yeah, especially as the level at that time maybe had not that much action and things, so to keep the pace slow and more about having a fun time in, you know, pile of corpses and thing. So yeah. Actually, I think that was a track that was made like the fastest in the game, despite being quite long. So yeah. Yeah, and also we're trying to have something, you know, a bit maybe uneasy with the mood, but at the end of the track going a bit more open in the music, if you can say so. So here's another example. Yeah, that's from the Prison's Depths. I think it was, yeah, an early mate level. It was kind of bit influenced by the Witcher music as well, to have the medieval vibes. It was supposed to be the first, the track of the first level at some point, but did not, you know, did not work as the first level things you hear again and again, I guess. So yeah, still guitar focus things and drums, yeah. And then another example, which is from the Ramparts. At first, the game roadmap and level progression was completely different, and this was actually to be like a hard level and kind of a reward to the player to take this path, because all the other levels were like just inside. There was like 3 levels in the prison or something, so it was not fun and a bit boring, but the idea was to give a sense of progression. So kind of, you know, it was like you see the light for the first time in the game, from the outside, so pushing. And it's also keeps the main direction from this mom's development cycle, as the first part is kind of engaging. So when you start the level, to get you in the mood. But as it was big level meant to be explored, there's a second part which is like very ambient, which was the one looping. So yeah, just to I lost my word, sorry. So yeah, like don't you have the supposed to be like pushing the fan. So after that, let's talk a bit about the audio direction, despite we already do that. So we had a bit of limitation within the game. First of all, it uses the Hax language and the Hips engine, which are homemade because it was created by former one of the founders of Motion Twin, who now is in the company Shiro Games. Who they did like the June RTS game lately, and yeah. So everything had to be made like I'm not even sure we had music looping when we started to implement it in the game. So there was not a lot we were able to do. At some point, we're thinking about to be in the trend of evolving, music with a lot of different, tracks and loops. But it was like not possible, and also not sure it would have worked well with the roguelite elements. Like, just going through the level and you see an enemy, you have like drums and the guitar thing, and then you win and the music stops. So it was like getting a bit of weird rhythm with the music. So yeah, it meant also like no audio middleware. So like, yeah, basically nothing. We had something for the audio which looks like an Excel sheet, and it's like not convenient to use, but at least it's something. So so I did not have to rely on devs all the time to code the thing in the game. And so yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, that was the word I was searching for. No adaptative soundtrack. So so what we did at this time, so we went with like one track per level, so to give each level its identity, I guess, and usually with an intro and a looping part. So with like the example from before, a part to set you in the mood of the level, and then the looping part to keep, working with exploration and action. So yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a hard compromise sometimes to do, because when the game was like in early access and released, I had some feedbacks that the music was sometimes not maybe like rhythm and harshness to fit with the action. But yeah, it's not every player goes through the level like very fast and everything. So we had to make this compromise, and also not upfront music, which means that the music was supposed not to how to say, to feel like more like something in the background. It was meant to be something like that. So because of the repetitive nature of this game, to try not to have people annoyed by the music every time they play the game. So yeah. So going to talk about the instruments. So obviously the picked strings as the lead instrument. That was decided from like the beginning of the game's development. So to emphasis on the storytelling, melody, and rhythm, and yeah, on what was used, it was like mainly classic guitar because I like to play that, and sometimes mixed with other instruments, like a lot with mandolin to kind of create more like bright sound to the guitar parts, you can say so. A bit of oud and bouzouki as well. And later, more electric guitar. It was like something the dev did not wanted to have kind of, you know, heavy guitar thing direction. So, but at the end, I managed to add a little bit. So the drums were like very important thing to give the rhythm following the player action, especially like the Barbarian's drum. I think that's the name of the preset I used. I think it was the Drum of War plugin. So yeah, I wanted to go with this kind of drum sounds instead of like, you know, classic rock drums and everything. I felt the sound was a little bit more deep and more, how to say, fitted more with the mood of the game, a bit medieval. Like to have the kind of the same drums you could have at the time. So there's like a lot of voices actually for the ambience, and it adds an organic factor, if you can say so. It's usually either like you know, choirs, like classic choirs, but also a lot of synth and electronic voice sounds, like the Exhale plugin from Output. It's like a really nice plugin, so you can do a lot of rhythm within the patch. So, and it was kind of have a modern sound, and which works well with the ambient parts, and also orchestration, you know, classic string and brass, because it's epic and it sounds cool as well. And also a bit of synthesizers, so mainly to do pads and background sounds, and also more heavy stuff. Like in one of the latest tracks, there's like some overdrive cello thing that was made with a synthesizer, so that kind of things. And usually try to stick to that, so you know, the soundtrack keeps being like feeling like a whole thing together. So as for music inspiration from video games, it was like, well, Dark Souls, as the game was kind of inspired by it in a long time ago. So especially to have, you know, during bosses, like big orchestral sound and songs. So a lot of Diablo 2, mainly I think it's the track, I don't remember the name of it, I think, Into Wilderness, I think, which has a really nice guitar part at the end. And also Castlevania, because it's Castlevania, and so, it kind of, the same, the side scroll as well, so. And one of the the castle track, was like completely inspired by the end of Castlevania 4, as when you are playing the last level in Castlevania 4, you have songs like, the classics, like Vampire Killer, Bloody Tears, and Beginning. So I wanted to have the same feeling when you reach what was the last level of the game at this time, to, at least you hear a bit of melodies from the past tracks, to have, despite it takes like maybe an hour to go there, to have nostalgia, but yeah. And so a bit of classic composers, I like to mention, like Schubert, Stravinsky, and Prokofiev. Mainly like Stravinsky, because I mean, like in the Rite of the Springs, there's like weird rhythm moments, and it's I don't know, it's really inspiring to do not straight rhythm thing. Also for more contemporary music in coma, I had a lot of inspiration from Enrique Morente and the Omega album, which is like, he's a flamenco singer. Well, he was a flamenco singer, and this album was like a collaboration with a Spanish metal band, and it's like, good mix between rock and classic guitar and flamenco rhythm, and so that's a lot of things. It's like there's one of he did a cover of Manhattan from Leonard Cohen. Yes, not Manhattan. First We Take Manhattan, and it really inspired me for the prison level. So a bit of the Conan of the Barbarian OST, well, the first movie, not in the sense, I don't know, it's more like inspiration from what I remember from the movie, instead of just getting inspired by the music from the movie itself. Also, yeah, Woodkid, because his first known song was like a very epic medieval electronic thing, and it was, yeah, an inspiration to kind of try to do something epic medieval thing in the game. And also the last band I wanted to mention, Rosa Crux. It's like a French band, and they only do like sing in Latin and do medieval thing, especially in the drums. They have a really nice sense of rhythm, and also a sense of looping in the music and progression. Like some of the songs, you can picture them like if you had the music sheet written in circle. The way they do their music really helped me to go across the looping factor of the music and repetitive nature of the game. So yeah, let's talk a bit about how the music is composed. So first, usually I kind of see like what's the concept of levels and things. So yeah, trying to match if the level is inside, outside, the colors. So like for the first screenshot on the left, which is the clock tower, it's like a later level, but yeah, I don't know, try to match with the theme of being climbing thing. And oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so first it starts to see, to have the feeling and the mood of the level while playing it, and then if there's like a special gimmick or something, for example the temple level, which has like a sleeping and an awake state, so the music changes when you awake the temple and everything wants to murder you. So also it depends of the place in the roadmap, so I think it's the actual roadmap, maybe not, I don't know, I guess. So yeah, it's like the early levels, especially the first one, tended to be more motivating and engaging to the players. So when you start the game, the idea was to push the player to, learning the mechanics of the game, and don't be discouraged by the difficulty, as it's kind of not an easy game. So, and also to kind of give a good starting pace to the run. Then, so mid levels. What I meant by mid levels will be like, well, the kind of the first middle part of the levels, like just before and after the first boss. So yeah, the music was put a bit aside, and I mean like maybe not too much strong or upfront or anything. So to give play more space to learn, keep on mastering the game and progressing. And so with the late level, more like rebuilding intensity to the soundtrack, so to kind of rewarding the player so that he managed to arrive far in the game, so release the Kraken and like do a lot of strong and epic and rhythm-based music. So yes, so since after the release of the game, so there was DLCs that were released, and the approach was different in making the music, because the game was kind of established, especially the second and the third DLC. I did not really care about where the level was supposed to be in the roadmap, but more like creating something to help players, having a link with the DLC, with the music, so they can remember the music, doing more like doing something fun, cool, that hopefully will be enjoyed by the community, but instead of just trying to focus on make the music perfectly made for a level. So as for music structure, it's generally divided in 3 parts. So first, there's like, usually it's kind of the same in all of the tracks, an introductory part to set up the mood. So how to say, like, well, no, there's nothing more to say actually. Well, English to play. Then having like more like a mid-section, so to be less still progressive, but maybe like a bit longer, let's say. But yeah, usually the final section is more like intensity, all the thing. And so looping. So yeah, all the tracks of, as you know, well, with the repetitive nature of the game, there's always a section where the track has to loop. So you know, kind of, yeah, that's good. Giving a feeling that the music keeps going, and not necessarily, you know, having a beginning and an end. So, what do we have here? Yeah. So it's mainly like progressive composing, despite, you know, the devs being afraid of at the beginning of the very melodic music. It's something that I kind of learned to do, like even if you replay the game again and again, you don't have to be afraid to have very sometimes strong melodic things, because if the player likes the game and the music at the same time, it kind of, you know, do something that you can remember about, kind of nostalgia thing, I guess. Yes, and usually not like during. Yeah, usually I kind of, you know, have a melody part and, you know, adding more tracks and harmonies to make it grow. I can say so. And yeah, also to kind of have, you know, a better looping feeling, avoiding you know, verse and chorus structure like usually in pop music. So you know, it's more like the track itself is like a verse and chorus thing that repeats instead of having verse, chorus, verse in the same track. I'm not sure I explained it well, but anyway. And so yeah, what was important was also the music length. At least 5 minutes is a minimum for the levels. So the idea was to kind of matching the time players will spend in a level. So, you know, if it loops, the music loops, it's like you spend a lot of time. So, but if it doesn't, you know, you don't have the sense of repetitiveness of the music, because it's supposed to kind of end when you end the levels. So after that, yes, bit about the composing. So these are the main scales that we used in the game. Was not limited to that, but usually it's the notes that we used. It helps, you know, giving a sense that using all the time the same note and thing, having this a sense of unity within the whole soundtrack. Yeah, that's all for that. And also, yeah, I wanted to show like a bit of things. I'm sorry for the screen quality of this. Yes, about the first level music. So this is like the main chord thing it's based. So now with the introductory part, it you know, kind of go back and forth between these three chords, and so yeah, so you know, to kind of go to some minor major track things, then from this part is like yes, those two chords introduced at the end of the riff, and adding like the B note, which is not basically in the scale, but June, ninth thing at the end of the leitmotif. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at music theories, so my explanation won't be like super nice and intelligible. So yeah, having first the guitar part to give like the melody and the rhythm, and then the brass and choir going up and down, like a bit up in the notes, but down with like the harmony and stuff. And so there's the bridge later in the thing. Not sure I will leave everything that's playing, but it introduces like these weird changes in the music. So yeah, and so after the bridge there's a recall of the intro, and then the track loops between the bridge and kind of the end, so you don't feel like the whole track is repeating itself. So bit to finish, like talk a bit about music around the game. So we added an alternative soundtrack thing in the game. The goal was to add content and more variety for the players, especially when you for the console players, because on Steam there's like mods and you can change the music for whatever you like in the game. So yeah, it helps because we managed to had like a thing where you add a file and you can switch directly in the menu between the soundtracks. And so yeah, the main idea was like to give more content, which doesn't like just having fun with the music direction, and also helps generating income, and that's still cool when live with music too. Offer more things to listen. Yeah, just a bit of example. It was made for the part 2, which was like retro thing. It was just a use of cleaning and simplifying the MIDI files, and then sweeping the instruments, so it can be like easily done when new tracks are added into the game. So it doesn't take like a lot of time, actually. And so yeah, it works with doing sampling a bit, some audio as well. So yeah, I mentioned the ratio production content thing is quite good. And so a bit of talk about quickly about the animated trailers. So it was aimed to have like a different direction to the game, and mostly like a marketing product. So we decided not to do something close to the game direction, and it has to be like easy, fun, and engaging music, and so allowed to add a bit more lore to the game. And so yeah, just think like it's nice to release the music outside of the game, especially something aimed to developers. So because people like it. Oh, sorry. Well, doesn't matter. I don't have a lot of things left to say, so sorry. Yeah.
The game changed so much.
Yeah.
And I was wondering whether this had a bad impact on remaking the music, or a good one, like maybe it allowed you to evolve the music for the game over such a long time?
Well, it had a bad impact when there was no music in the game. So, but when it went back to action, yeah, it was well like a positive thing because it's more fun to do. Well, for me, it was more fun to make like melodic and rhythm-based music since just very ambient tracks. So I guess yeah, it helps uh, doing it in a good way, if you can say so. Hope I answered your question.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah. So a question. Especially in the first level, for me, the music seemed to really well match the tempo of the combat in the
Yeah.
game. And I was kind of wondering, since you showed those, like the very early version
Yeah.
of that theme
Yeah.
in the prototype, even before I think early alpha, early access. I was wondering how did it develop? Did the developers match the? Was it more the combats evolving to fit the soundtrack, or was the soundtrack evolving to fit the combat?
I really don't know because this music was made in between. Well, I started working on the game like very early, then not because the devs put the project aside. And before I went fully back in the game, I was kind of already making music, well, trying to do things. And so that's when this first track was made. And so as for the first level, I don't know. I didn't want it to have this track at some point at the first level, but it was more like the devs who were like, "Yeah, it's this one." So I don't really know if they try to kind of match the thing, but maybe unconsciously, I guess. But I'm sorry, there's no like answer that I really know. In fact, on that.
Okay, yeah. I just kind of wanted to know if it was a conscious decision or more of a like kind of osmosis thing.
Well, maybe a bit if, they were playing this track and then making this level, maybe it had some influence, but I, was not sharing it with them and were seeing them working, so.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. One more question, if you have. Okay, please.
Okay, my question concerns directly the workflow of your composing. Was the guitar the primary instrument that you use for, I could say, beginning of the process?
It depends. Sometimes, yes, it's more like finding like a good of rock and roll riff or something on the guitar, and then adapting it with the other instruments. It's not always like that, but usually when you have guitar playing, it was made with guitar first in mind. And for the other tracks, it's more like jamming with different presets and plugins. And at some point, there will be something that will sound nice. So
It's quite difficult to explain, but to me it sounded more like this keyboard orchestral entry point, right? So this is why I asked, because I heard a lot of this guitar texture, right? And this is why I would rather say that it's basically started from the orchestra, right? And later it came into guitar stuff. So this is why actually I was very curious about it. And the second thing I wanted to ask about is why did you really decide to go into this 8-bit direction in the second version of the soundtrack? Why actually this particular solution? Because it's also very interesting.
I think that was because it was like how to say, a way to do like a whole one kind of direction, alternate soundtrack, and the fact that I just had to, switch instruments, plugins with the MIDI files from the tracks. I don't know. It was something that felt could work as a whole new soundtrack for the game, but there was not anything trying to fit more the game because it speaks a lot or something. It's like I think it was for testing this to do like a whole soundtrack. It was more. I think the easiest way, I guess, to try to have another soundtrack in the game. I think that's the main reason.
Okay, thanks a lot for the answer.
Welcome.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you for listening to Yoann. Yoann, thank you for your presentation.
Well, thank
and you have.
Thank you. So, cheers.